So welcome everybody to today's event, From Counselling to Coaching, an interview with Dr. Patrick Williams. And a very warm welcome to you, Pat. Thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure.
And a warm welcome to all our audience, wherever you are around the world. It's great to have you with us here. Just to say a little bit about how the event works, just in case it's the first time you're with us. Pat and I can see and hear each other over the Skype video, but we can't hear or see you. But you've got access to the chat room, hopefully, and we'd really welcome you to post comments or questions, and that Pat and I can respond to. And I guess we're hoping it's going to be a really interactive session. So it should be good fun. So the online events team is located here in Scotland, windy Scotland today. Pat, can you let us know whereabouts you're located?
I'm in northeast Florida in the United States, so we're on the Atlantic coast side, and it's pretty warm, but no rain, and quite lovely today.
I guess you're getting much nicer weather than we are here in Scotland.
Yes. Yeah, it's pretty sunny and warm. We could use some rain, but I spent most of my life in Colorado, so I've only lived here in Florida for 4 years.
So you're still enjoying that sunny experience, I guess.
Yes, this seems to be where I need to be right now. It's a very active community, able to get outdoors a lot, and I really like that.
Sounds lovely. Well, thank you for taking the time to join us on Skype. It's lovely to use the technology, so it feels like we're in the room together, even though we're separated by quite a few thousand miles. First of all, I'd like to ask you, Pat, can you tell us a little bit about your professional journey up till now? What has brought you to this point?
Yeah, it's really good you call it a journey, because my professional degree is in psychology. So I got a bachelor's, master's, and doctorate in psychology. But I kind of studied a non-traditional route. I studied humanistic and transpersonal psychology, more about human development and optimal living. So when I became a clinical psychologist, I always felt I was kind of like a sheep in wolf's clothing.
Okay.
You know, I really didn't want to diagnose people and see people as broken, and so I started doing executive coaching in 1990 with some major corporations such as Hewlett-Packard, Kodak, IBM. And then when the popularization of coaching started in the early 90s, I jumped ship, as you say. At 15 years of a clinical practice, I trained with a coach training institute called Coach University at the time, and quickly went full-time into coaching because most of it was done by telephone. And when I saw the freedom of that, I created my own coach training school called the Institute for Life Coach Training. So part of that journey has been 12 years of owning that school. I sold that 2 years ago to a larger behavioral healthcare media company. And so I still work for them, but, you know, they have all the material, 4 books I've written, the curriculum, et cetera. And now I'm kind of in charge of connecting with them with clients and customers around the world.
So it's been quite a journey, I guess.
It's a great journey, yes.
Yeah.
And a journey I never would have predicted.
Yes. And a very interesting start, humanistic psychology, and I guess feeling a little bit at odds with that psychology community in terms of your humanistic leanings.
Yeah, well, there's a large community, but let's say I never really embraced Sigmund Freud. Theories are good for child development, but I didn't want to be a clinician and deal with mental illness. I wanted to deal with optimal living. And so my goal was probably to be a college professor. And yet those opportunities were slim, the pay wasn't good, so I went into clinical psych, had my own practice for a while, and then coaching just opened up the world to me. Literally and figuratively.
Right, okay. Yeah, so when you're saying open up the world, that gives us a sense of when you're doing telephone coaching, I guess. It wasn't just limited to your locality.
Right. Actually, my first international client was from Scotland.
Oh, wow.
It's
Right.
interesting for you to know that. She was the, well, I shouldn't say an identifying number, but she was from Minto, Scotland,
Mm.
and heard me on some telephone program and ended up hiring me. So I thought, this is great. I can have a client in Scotland call me by phone. I don't have to have a client in my office, and I'm able to do those calls from wherever either one of us are.
Yeah.
And nowadays with Skype, you can even do video, so that's nice.
Yeah. So there you are, kind of at the beginning of that kind of experience of
Yeah.
doing psychological work, coaching
Right.
remotely. Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of an early adapter. I could kind of intuitively see that this was going to become something. And I jokingly told a coach I had at the time, he asked, well, what are your big dreams? Because I had just started my institute. And I said, well, I'm not really a businessman. I've got a class that's full and another one that's filling. And he said, well, it sounds like you're a businessman. You got a business and you're paying people to teach.
Mm.
I said, well, I'm a non-traditional businessman, I guess. But what I really want is within the next 5 years, and this was in 1999, I said, within the next 5 years, I would like to have written 2 books and traveled the world and spoken on coaching using other people's money. And that's what happened. They paid me, once the first book came out, they paid me to do a lecture series up and down the coast of Australia. I came to coaching conferences in Europe. I gave a lot of special trainings at universities here in the United States, and it just opened up the world. So it's just been thrilling to be part of that.
Mm.
And I'm still a leader in the profession. I'm past president of the Association of Coach Training Organizations. Our school was the 12th one accredited by the International Coach Federation, and there's now over 150
Wow.
since 1999.
Yeah. So the industry's come a long way in those 10
It
years
has.
or so. Yeah,
Yes.
a long way.
And I like that you called it an industry, because I indeed think it is an industry becoming a profession.
Mm.
There's a lot of debate about that, but I think something your audience should know is there's over 200 universities now that have certificates or, in some cases, masters and doctorates in coaching. Oxford Brookes in the UK is one. University of Sydney, Australia was the first one to have a master's in coaching psychology. And now in the US, we've got Georgetown, Harvard, Duke University, University of Miami, University of Texas, Dallas. So some pretty big name people that are creating coaching certificates or in their program or doctoral degrees and doing a lot of research so that it becomes a profession.
Mm.
Body of knowledge is what's needed.
Yeah, so that's what's starting to build, that body of
Yes.
knowledge then.
Yeah.
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 And we'll talk about that later when we talk about the certification opportunities that are out there for people, because it's kind of a confusing path to walk.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I guess this is the question that we've connected over. There's some real changes going on, I guess, in the US about certification of coaches. Could you tell us a little bit about that, some of the developments?
Well, you know, the International Coach Federation was, as far as I can tell, the first international body to represent the growing profession of coaching. And I was actually one of its founders back in 1995. I've been on the board of directors of the ICF, the regulatory committee, the ethics committee, so I supported the growth of the ICF. But in 2005, when they were 10 years old, I and a few other people in the minority suggested that it was time to create credentialing by an independent body who was not in the business of having conferences and membership for coaching. That didn't get accepted very well, so the ICF continued to try to improve their certification standards.